My name is Susan McGuire, and I'm Manager of Professional Development here at ACCE, and I'm very happy to welcome you all to this webinar on the Certified Chamber Executive, or CCE program. I'm happy to welcome Ben Haskew, who is Chair of the CCE Commission, and Bob Quick, Chair-elect of the Commission, who will be talking today about the program, the CCE program, and walking you through the CCE process. Before we begin, we'll let a few other folks come on the line, and I'll just go over a few housekeeping notes. First, please remember to place your phone on mute to avoid background noise. And second, we will have a few minutes for questions at the end of the webinar. If you have any questions, please ask them using the question function of the webinar. The question box is on the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Just type in your question, and I'll read and answer the question at the end of the presentation. If we run out of time and don't get to your question, or if you have an individualized question that would be better answered individually offline, or you just want to talk with one of us offline about your situation, that is totally fine. We will get in touch with you directly after the webinar to answer your question, or you can contact one of us directly. Our contact information will be on the last slide. And third, this webinar is being recorded, and it should be up on the ACC website on the ACC University webpage within the next day or so. We'll also have this presentation posted as well, so you'll have all that information. So please look for those on our website within the next few days. So with that, I would like to introduce our speakers today. Ben Haskew, CCE, has spent 40 years in the Chamber of Commerce Management, 12 years as CEO of the Greenville, South Carolina Chamber. He's been active in ACCE his entire career, and he served for 8 years on the CCE Commission. Ben is in his second year as the Commission Chair. Bob Quick is Chair-elect of the CCE Commission. He's a 27-year Chamber professional, and he serves as President and CEO of Commerce Lexington, Incorporated, a 1,700-plus member-driven Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development organization. Commerce Lexington is a Horizon investor of ACCE and was twice named a finalist for ACCE's Chamber of the Year Award. Bob has served as chair of ACCE's Economic Development Committee and currently serves on the ACCE Benefits Trust Board. Bob previously led chambers of commerce in Evansville, Indiana, and Iowa City, Iowa. So with that, Ben, I think you are on first.
Very good. Well, thank you, Susan, and welcome, everyone. And my thanks to my chair-elect, Bob Quick. Bob, thanks for being a part of the call as well. We want to cover a lot of material today around the what, why, who, when, and how, if you will, to pursue your CCE designation. And much of what you're going to hear as we go through the webinar is this is really an emphasis about you as a professional chamber executive, and what we as commissioners will be looking for from your performance in the past, what you've done to accumulate points in the application, your essays, and so forth as we move through. The certification process has a purpose, and you know, it's really, next slide, Susan, if you will. Let's see, is it there? Coming up?
There it is.
There we come. There's a mastery of the chamber profession body of knowledge that is available at ACCE that we really base a lot of this program on. Certainly your commitment as individuals to the chamber profession, a dedication, if you will, to managerial excellence, and then the leadership that you have had in your community and in the chamber profession. So that's kind of the process and purpose, what we're looking for. So why get your CCE? And we've got a number of slides coming up here. You know, we want to have you test your own knowledge and skills. We want you to see this as an elevation of your personal and professional status. And you'll be joining an important peer group of chamber professionals who have been down this path, and I think a group that we all turn to, and as we have challenges in our profession, we can look to for help and guidance along the way. Next slide. Obviously, this is a visible mark of excellence in the chamber profession. We believe this increases your credibility among your peers, your members, your board, and community. And I know many of the folks that have been through the classes in recent years certainly attest to that particular point. We believe this advances your career and potentially your compensation levels. And then certainly it raises the standards of the chamber profession. I think we have a few testimonials coming up next. Doris Carson, I'll let you all read this. Doris has just joined us on the CCE Commission. And, you know, I think what she says here is that obviously this has been a very rewarding proposition for her to go through the process. And obviously we've recognized that and reached out to her to help us as a commissioner. Next up is Alan Smith, who's very, very close to where I am in Greenville. Alan saw this as an opportunity, really not for himself, only for himself, but also to lift up his organization and the community. He certainly believes this has made him stronger professionally. And we hear that a lot from many of the class members. Moving along. You know, here's one we all probably can share. Why did I wait so long? You know, and I think this is like, we're all busy people, and obviously this takes some time and dedication. But the fact of the matter is, if you manage this in what we've talked about in terms of 4 segments, one is getting the application together, reviewing your points, your history of what you've done. We're going to be talking more about that. Then the essay portion, meeting with commissioners in an oral review, and then finally the exam. You can manage this in bites, and I think get through the process easily. So if you're on the edge or on the fence, go ahead and pull the trigger. Let's have you go through this next class. Next slide. Allie says, you know, Institute was important to her, but CCE is really very important. You know, it tells others that not only you know what you're doing, but you have what it takes to get the job done. And I think that, you know, as we built this mastery of knowledge, all the support materials, I think certainly we all understand benchmarking and learning from others, and this is a great way to do that. So very proud of our recent CCEs and others that have been through the process. So who qualifies? Well, first, 6 years of senior level management at a chamber is a minimum requirement. Then as we talk later about the points in the application, 175 professional development points are required. You must be currently employed in the chamber profession, have had a major role in the development of the supporting documents submitted with the application. We will cover those a bit later on, and must provide, depending on size of the chamber, 2 most recent years of financial statements, including 1 year of audited statements. Now, for chambers that are larger than $500,000, that's at least an annual review and an audit every other year. And then for chambers under $500,000 in total revenue, that's an annual review by a certified financial firm and an audit every 3 years. Bob Quick and I were talking about this requirement earlier, and we believe this is a very important fiduciary responsibility for us as chamber executives and managers as we report to our boards, and this is, I know, a tough requirement on some chambers, but as the Commission has revisited this requirement over time, we just keep coming back to the importance of this for the protection of the organization and also for the protection of you as a chamber professional. Bob, I don't know if you'd add anything to that, but you know, I feel like it's solid, and then you will see that we have a number of points along the way through the process that are financially rooted. Bob, any comment there?
No, I would say that the only thing I would add would just be to emphasize again, this is something we review probably more than any other item on here, and we keep coming back to the key point that this is about the fiduciary integrity of the organization and also the individual. So I think we probably played with this as much as we can to figure out, you know, any grounds that we could change on, but I think at the end of the day, we've got to be very strict on this.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And if there are questions about that, please just type them in. We'll try to respond later. All right, so when to apply? Well, obviously, we hope you're already looking at the points. All that's available on the website, and we'll give you more about that as we go along. But certainly the 175 points are kind of a baseline, the 6 years. But when you are really ready to in your career to take this next step, that's the best time to go ahead. The focus on preparation, I kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier. December, January is that time frame around the application, getting your points together, reviewing what you've done to accumulate those points. February is a time frame we'll be talking about essays. April is the oral review, and then in June is the examination. And then again, at this point about financial review and audit, when you're at that point, you will be ready. And note then the deadline for the application at the bottom of this screen, January 8th of 2016. Okay, so the process, and we basically talked about this, the application, essays, and we'll go in more detail about all of these. The oral presentation and interview by the Commission, the examination, and then when you become a CCE, we will ask you every 5 years in a maintenance program to submit a minimum number of 15 points to continue your CCE designation. Susan, I think you're going to take it from there on step 1, talking about the application.
Yes, thank you, Ben. So I'm just going to go over step 1, the application process a little bit. And as Ben indicated, we have lots of details and explanation on our website, and I'll show you exactly how to get to that page of the website a little bit later. So this is an overview. And so a summary of the application process. Our application is on our website. It's a fillable PDF. So you log on, you fill it out, and print it out and send it to us. So that's the form. In terms of the content, as Ben noted, you need 175 points. And the next few slides, I'll go over the type of activities that that you can use to accrue points. Supporting documentation. I have a specific list later on, but you'll have to have that with your application. You'll need 5 references, and then you provide them in notebooks, 5 copies of 3-ring notebooks. You send everything to me here at ACCE. So how do you earn points? So this slide and the next provides a summary of the points accorded to various professional development activities. Again, please look at the website for details. First, education. You get points for associate, bachelor's, graduate degrees, or individual graduate courses. And the point values vary according to the type of degree or course. Second, continuing education. When you go to an ACCE convention, it's worth 5 points. State or regional conferences are 3 points each. Other ACCE conferences or other chamber conferences, such as the sales training or an ACCE course, that's worth 3 points. Webinars, such as this one right now, or any other webinars from ACCE University or other chamber management webinars, they're 1 point each. And then Institute, the 4-year program is 7 points per year. Then beyond that, you get points for professional contributions. So if you are the presenter at a convention workshop or a webinar, or you're the author of a magazine article, for instance, for the Chamber Executive Magazine, or you serve as an ACCE mentor, all of these ways that you contribute to our profession and you show that you're contributing are worth 5 points each. And then we have a range of points attributable to leadership of chamber management organizations or community organizations, and the point values range depending on whether it's a national versus regional, a board position versus an officer position, and so on. But you can, there's a few points that are available through leadership positions that you've taken. And then we have points for awards for other types of designations and other types of certifications as well. So some points, not all points by any means, can be accrued through ACCE activities. So where do you find those? Well, you can find those on our website. First, you log into our website. At the top right-hand corner of any website page. Then you click on Menu, and you click on My Account. Click on My Membership. And then you click on My ACCE Activity. And what you come up with is most likely a much longer list than my little list here, but is your ACCE activity report. So this is just the activities, the professional development activities done through ACCE that you can use for, that are awarded CCE points. So I mentioned earlier that there's supporting documents that are required to be submitted with your application. This is a summary, again, details on the website that the URL is printed at the bottom of this slide. Financial statements for the last 2 years, 1 year of audited statements, annual budget, strategic plan, business plan, and annual report for the 2 most recent years, your own position description, your chamber organizational chart, a personnel manual, a position, oh, I have that twice, position description for your position, so that's twice up there, but only needs to be submitted once. Your resume, your professional resume, and your references, as indicated before, 5 references. And then what do you do with these things? You put them all together, you print out your application, you compile all of the necessary documents, you make 5 copies of them, and you put them in 3 ring notebooks. The application fee is $400 for ACCE members, and then you send them to us here at ACCE by January 8th, 2016. Then when I get them, I will review everything, I'll let you know I got it, and I'll let you know if there's anything missing or there's any problems. So that's the application, and at this point, I'm going to hand it back to Ben, who's going to talk about the next step of the process, essays.
Thanks, Susan. I think before I begin on these next 2 or 3 steps, once your application is submitted and then you become a part of that class that's going to pursue through the following June, we will have staff and commission regular conference calls with you as we move through the process. So we will have conference calls that will describe each step. We will give you suggestions. We will talk several times through today about you're having a mentor. That's a great opportunity to work with someone who's either on the commission or perhaps a recent member of one of the classes that have gone through. So anyway, you will be shepherded, so to speak, throughout the process, and we will have regular calls to talk about each one of these steps. So there are 2 essays required. One is, and what is talked about here first, is a recent and significant project where you, and again, I emphasize you, as a chamber professional, have demonstrated your professional skill, experience, and leadership ability. As I said early in the call, the CCE is much about what you've done. And I know for many of us that's difficult because we're used to giving credit to our volunteers and others that we want to recognize in that way. But again, here we're looking for what you have done. And so this is one of the essays, and this is the essay that you will discuss when you have your oral review. The second one is again coming back to this point about your chamber's financial policies. We want you to write an essay that basically describes what those fiduciary responsibilities and financial policies are in your organization. Now, these are not long essays. They're a page and a half, so you've got to be a pretty good succinct writer to get it down. And again, these will be due February 19th of 2016. All right, next slide. So next April, and again, conference call and more details will be forthcoming about that. But the commissioners will want to meet with you to review and hear about your essay, and then have an interview conversation that might include the essay topic, but also might include your application, other materials that you've submitted as a part of that application. And what we try to design is a 3-commissioner panel to meet with each participant. These will last about an hour, and again, the first part is a somewhat formal presentation that you will make on your essay, and then the second part of the interview is, I would say, a bit more relaxed, where we're talking to you about your application and other materials. And again, this will be scheduled in April. We do our best to get as many of these done in a day or so, and try to schedule these near the center part of the country when we can, so that people minimize travel time and cost. So we'll let you know as we go along exactly the date and the location selected. Next slide. Okay, here is the one everybody seems to get tense about, the exam. And frankly, if you spend time with the body of knowledge, and there will be a recommended reading list that's available through ACCE. It is a long exam. It will take 4 hours, but I believe that everyone can make it through the exam phase ultimately to receive the designation. The exam will be proctored by ACCE outside of your chamber location. Hopefully you can find someone nearby either in your state or very close by in an adjoining state that could proctor your exam. We will do this in June of next year, and we try to make this convenient for you. It's an all online exam, and again, you will be required to spend about 4 hours at another location to take it, and we'll do this with some convenience to all the candidates in June of next year. Well, I mentioned the body of knowledge a couple of times, and this is the foundation, if you will, of what has been built support not only what we all need as chamber professionals, but certainly the CCE process. All of this is available to you through the website. We encourage you to spend some time in all of these areas, and again, there'll be some recommended reading as we go along as well. All right, next slide. I mentioned maintenance earlier, and again, if you're a participant in your state chamber executive program, attend ACCE, over a 5-year period, a minimum of 15 points is really not hard at all. So once you have the designation, then again, it's like accreditation, and every 5-year look and checkup to be sure that you're, as much as anything, continuing education along the way. Susan, I think I give it back to you at this point.
Okay, thanks, Ben. So we're going to go over the resources now that you can consult as you're preparing your application, deciding whether you're going to go for the designation, go through the process, and then once you're going through it. So the first resource, as we've said, is our website. You can find the application there, the application guidelines, the timeline, eligibility requirements, more detail on the chamber body of knowledge, and much more. So please take a look at this at our website. And I just thought I would share how you get to our CCE page, because they're so chock full of knowledge from any page of our ACC website. You'll want to go to professional development, click right there in the middle of the page, and then you just click on CCE. And there you have it. That is our Certified Chamber Executive page. And from there, there are many other links, again, to many other resources. So not only do we have the website, we have real people that you can talk to as well, and Ben's going to continue on from here to tell you about those.
Well, and we've talked about the commission several times, and also this is on the website. So, you know, myself and Bob Quick, past chair is Raymond Burns, but we will kind of scroll through these slides a little bit slow. I mentioned Doris Carson Williams earlier, Kelly Hall over in Texas, and go ahead now, Susan. Oh, here we go. Yeah, David Hauser, Brad Hicks, Troy McClellan. So you'll see that these folks really are around the country. I can promise you any of them would be willing to work with you through the CCE process. They'll be willing to be a mentor. And so not only take note of who the commissioners are here as we go through the webinar, but also go back to the ACC website and see if there's not a commissioner that you might want to tap as a mentor. The next group that you may want to talk with or even ask to mentor is the class that just went through successfully and got their CCE this past summer. We had 6 that went through the process successfully. This was a smaller class. I'd say we probably generally have 10 to 15 who move through the process each and every year. And I hammered a couple of people, one on my staff, to go through the process this year. So anyway, there are 6 here that you can count on for any questions to be answered or resources, and perhaps a mentorship. And gosh, we've talked about mentors so many times, but you may have one in your chamber, you may have one in your state nearby, but many of them, of course, have already been through the process. They can help in so many ways: application, working on the essay topic, a review of your essays, presentation prep, exam preparation, and perhaps even be your proctor for the exam when the time comes. And then there's Susan, who is a great resource, and she is a wonderful resource to our commission, certainly working with Bob and myself, but also to all of ACCE's members, and certainly the potential class that will go through the program this year. So, all we need to know from you is, are you in? We have an intent to apply form. I know we already have a number of these, and you can find this again on the website. It's a simple form that just kind of lets us know what you're thinking, and then it will give us an opportunity to follow up with you and stay in touch as we get closer to the application deadline and on from there. So, Susan?
Okay, well, thank you, Ben, and thank you, Bob. We now have a few minutes to take some questions, and I believe we already have some up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read them off to Ben and Bob. And the first question wants to go into more detail on the development of the materials submitted. He says he has the years of experience, but he's new in his current role. As such, his name would only be listed on a year of audited financial statements, even though, so in other words, he's new to the chamber, current chamber, but lots of other experience, previous experience. So how does that work?
Well, we've had candidates, even this most recent class, where a person had moved from one chamber to the other. So in that case, they were able to submit material from both their current and their previous chamber. Now, as I understand the question, this person may have come from a different field. Bob, your thoughts?
No, I think what you have to do, though... Go ahead.
I think he's coming from another chamber.
Okay, well, then that should be fine. He can share information from that previous chamber. Wouldn't you agree, Bob?
Yes, and it needs to be current. So it cannot be something that happened, 6 years ago, or it's got to be something that's within, a year to 2 years. So that's when I say it's got to be current. It needs to be fairly new.
Okay.
Okay, here's a question about the audit requirements. If the chamber does not currently do a review or audit, but we start now, how many years of review/audit must we have before we can apply?
Let's see.
You basically need to submit one audited financial statement, right?
I think that was correct.
With your application.
That's as I understand it.
You have to at least financial statements.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
2 years of financial statements, including one audited year. So if you started your audit and you completed it, you could give your current audited statement and then your previous financial review.
Right. That sounds right to me. Yep.
This is an interesting question. On the average, how much should one budget to go through the process? This is aside from the $400 and any fees that, to go to the conferences and things. Maybe Ben and Bob, you may have some thoughts on this, but you will travel one day for the presentation and interview. So there'll be a flight and hotel or whatever one day for that. And then you'll need a day taken aside for the exam itself. And in some cases, folks do travel to a different chamber. They don't take it in there. Usually you don't take it in your chamber because you're apt to be disturbed, the door knocks while you have your 4 hours. So those are two things that you'll have to take into account. Is there any other thoughts on that?
No, I think that's good. I think it's hard for us to give a dollar number just because of the cost to fly from one airport to another to the location that the testing will be at can vary, but I would just sit down. I think you cover the parameters very well. It's just the basic things. So just set yourself a budget and develop it towards that.
Yeah, and we should say that you received the CCE at the awards ceremony at the convention. So if you're getting your CCE, that's probably a year that you definitely want to go to convention, so include that as well.
Exactly.
Here's a question. What percentage of folks who apply initially do not achieve the certification? I don't believe we keep those statistics. Ben, Bob, do you have any thoughts?
I don't know of
that?
an exact percentage. I would say a large majority go through the process successfully every year.
And let me add to that, if you do not pass a particular level, that is not defeat or failure. That is, it just tells you need to put some more focus into that and hopefully do that next year and go on, because there are some people who do not pass. But again, I think it's just all on how you look at it, but that's just more of a growth moment, and then the next year you can pick up and take it on from there. But in my experience, there's been very few people, quite frankly, that haven't, but it does happen, and it's okay.
Good point.
And what, as indicated by Bob, you can retake the exam. So if you go through the entire process and you're successful at all the other points and you just miss on the exam, that's not a problem. You can take the exam the next year, and you don't have to redo either the application, the fee, the essay, or anything like that. So you get another shot.
That's correct.
Here is a great suggestion for us. Is there a one-sheeter or overview to share with your board regarding the CCE in order to gain their support? I'm going to think on whether we have one ready, but I think it's a good idea, and we should probably do that. What do you think, Bob and Ben?
Oh, yeah, I couldn't agree more. Great idea. Thanks for the suggestion.
Thanks so much for that suggestion, and we will do that. And we can share it with you all, too. Can the 6-year requirement happen during the application process? My understanding is that when you apply, you have to have 6 years at that point. Is that your understanding, Ben and Bob?
Yes.
Yes.
So on January 8th, 2016, you would have 6 years.
Yes.
And then, I don't remember if I said this one, is a copy of the slides available? Yes, absolutely. A copy of the slides for this presentation will be available and posted on our ACCE University webinar page. And if all goes well, and I have no technical or other difficulties, they should be up tomorrow. So look for the slides and the recording, and I may throw a couple of other interesting things up there like our application guidelines and such. So yes, all will be available, and all of us can be contacted too if you need more information. And speaking of that, there we go. If you need more information, please feel free to reach out to either Ben or Bob or myself, and we'd be happy to talk with you. If you have individual questions or anything else, please just don't hesitate to get in touch. So I think that's all the questions we have. Ben, do you have anything you want to say to close out the webinar, or Bob?
I just say thanks again to everyone for being on the call, the webinar. We appreciate your interest. Again, this is a process that we are happy to help you through. I've already been contacted by a number of people leading up to the webinar for suggestions and questions. Happy to do that as we go forward. I'm sure Bob and Susan are too. So just let us know how we can help you. We look forward to having a great class.
Excellent.
Okay. Well, thank you, Ben and Bob, and thank you, everyone, for participating. Again, look for a recording of this webinar and the presentation materials on the website probably tomorrow. Reach out to us with any questions, and we'd be happy to help. So thanks again, everyone, and have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.
Bye.